Jurassic World Rebirth has just had some new set photos come out featuring Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey, and Rupert Friend in some pretty different looking places compared to the more recent movies. Now, these photos kind of show us a glimpse at what kind of story this film could be aiming for, and I personally think it's looking way more grounded than the last one. What's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Now, these set photos reveal Scarlett Johansson's character, Zora Bennett, in a pretty casual attire, showing up at a natural history museum of some sort, and I'm going to assume she's there to have a conversation with Jonathan Bailey, who plays a new paleontologist named Dr. Henry Loomis in the film. Very Halloween with that kind of a name. Now, if you pay attention to the back of this particular photograph, you can see what appears to be a Tyrannosaurus display, which kind of lines up with the last video I did on the crates of dinosaur bones that we went over from Velociraptor, Baryonyx, Gallimimus, and yes, T.rex as well, which is again shown off here. I'm going to go into more of the species later and what they could mean to the plot, but going back to the image itself, my best guess as to the scene in question, this could be something like Zora. You know, she's just been hired to acquire the genetic material from the 3 dinosaurs that are on the list, and she's hoping to get some kind of intel or maybe even trying to hire Dr. Loomis for the expedition. You know, it's kind of a guide or field expert on this sort of mission since he is a paleontologist after all. But you know, the other photos that we have come with a pretty interesting look at Rupert Friend's character, who is supposed to be a pharmaceutical guy, and he's here talking to Dr. Loomis. Now, this scene I have a little less of an idea on what's happening or even going on. He could be trying to convince Loomis to go on the expedition because the drug or whatever medical project they can develop will end up saving a lot of human lives, but it could literally be anything. We don't really have much context for this yet. Now, with that being said, I gotta say, when it comes to these scenes and photos in question from the new movie, don't you think they kind of look way different? And I mean, in my opinion, I think they just look a little more real than some of the stuff we've seen over the last few years. I mean, if Scarlett Johansson is supposed to be this covert special operations expert, I do think the suit and everything makes a little more logical sense for a grounded Jurassic Park movie in a sort of realistic kind of way. You know, there's no over-the-top coats or costumes like what we saw from the characters in Jurassic World Dominion. That last movie really took things to a sort of, I don't know, just campy level, so this new film could actually be going for more of a simplistic, and I would guess, and just more of a believable look than what we've seen in a while. Now, as far as the actual filming location, Jurassic World Rebirth is currently filming in London with what everyone believes to be a stand-in museum set. Now, I honestly don't think we're going to see any dinosaurs here, like running around out in the open, and I think this is really just supposed to be some mainland setup before we go out to the equator and start hunting for the dinosaurs. One thing to note, though, is that T.rex has been featured kind of heavily in all of the current material that we've seen in regards to this location. Don't really know what that means for when they get onto the island itself, because if they're hunting for DNA samples of the biggest animals on land, sea, and air, I don't think the Tyrannosaurus is a good candidate for that kind of mission, especially when you've got Brachiosaurus or Dreadnoughtus that we've seen before, which are far bigger. So the Tyrannosaur stuff is either just there for set decoration because, you know, it's Jurassic Park, and T.rex is going to be a no-brainer, or maybe there is some kind of prep work being done with Zora getting information from Dr. Loomis just in case this group comes across one on the island, which I think would be really cool if they could build the animals back up into being scary again. I do want to do a video why Jurassic Park needs to be scary again in the future, but Tyrannosaurus isn't alone in that sort of description because Gallimimus, Baryonyx, and most importantly, in my opinion, Velociraptor are also being given little places at the museum with these crates. And I've seen some fans bring up the fact that these were all species that we knew for a fact were on Isla Nublar for John Hammond's original Jurassic Park, but I don't really think this is necessarily something that means that they will be going to Isla Nublar in the new movie. I think it's done, guys. It blew up in Fallen Kingdom. It's kind of all there really is to it. Now, when we get a look at all of the old engine equipment and everything from the sets of the new movie and combine those photos with what we know of from the synopsis, I think we can get a better picture of what to expect, and it looks like this really may be some sort of brand new island we haven't really heard of before. But yes, the species that we've gotten, including the Parasaurolophus, are all original engine species from way back in the 90s. Although that last one is an interesting case because it is the Dominion variant, so so that's a very unique looking Parasaurolophus that did not come from the 1990s InGen world, so who really knows what to expect. One thing to mention about this expedition that I think people should probably be thinking about more is the whole concept of this pharmaceutical plot point that could have some major implications to the Jurassic Park story. You know, when Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver got hired to write Jurassic Park 4 before Colin Trevorrow came on, they were fresh off of their success with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which had the whole story revolve around a cure for Alzheimer's disease, and that flowed pretty well with the development of the ape's intelligence, particularly Caesar for that film. I really love those movies. So if Zora is going to Dr. Loomis and possibly even Rupert Friend's character in order to get some info on what kind of animals they're going to be hunting, the actual action and suspense sequences in the film could be something way more intricate and interesting for Jurassic Park to tackle. In fact, I think that may have been on Steven Spielberg's mind way back in the early 2010s when he hired Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver off of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. What I'm trying to say here is there could be a correlation with the whole pharmaceutical standpoint for Jurassic World Rebirth. They're trying to go back to older ideas, and they've got David Koepp on board to kind of bring everything home. And Gareth Edwards doing a great job too with that more grounded aesthetic. One way to think about all of this would be like the scene from the Lost World Jurassic Park where Roland Tembo and the InGen hunters are rounding up all of the animals for the park in San Diego. Only separate scenes stretched out for the whole duration of this new movie, centering around each individual species. You want to capture a Quetzalcoatlus, or at least get its DNA, you track it down, locate where it could be, and use good information from your paleontological guide on how to safely get the sample and then get out of there ASAP. Same thing with any other creature that they want to go up against, which could lead into some scenes that are tense and mission-oriented where no one can make a mistake, or all-out conflict and terror when it comes to something like a Spinosaurus or even Tyrannosaurus Rex. I really do think the more grounded look of the movie is something to be excited for from these set photos, and I think the whole idea of having a museum scene where people are just discussing things is super old school, again, reminding me of The Lost World. Now, with that being said, guys, what do you think is going on in these set photos, and do you think that this movie is going for a more grounded tone in comparison to Jurassic World Dominion? I gotta say, I really hope this is some sort of beginning exposition scene where they're like, hey, we're going to this island, we need help, do you want to come along? Because we could be going across some really, really dangerous stuff. And maybe what seals the deal for Dr. Loomis is Rupert Friend going, hey man, this drug could save lives, you could be doing the world a massive favor. And then they go off to, where the running and screaming happens. Anyways, guys, whatever your own thoughts and opinions happen to be, I'd love to hear all about them in the comments down below. Now, before I go, I want to thank everyone that's helped me build my channel over the years. I'd also like to thank every one of you guys who've watched my stuff. You've all been extremely cool to me. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and hope that you'll consider subscribing. God bless you all. Christ is King. See you guys in the next video. And as always, take it easy.